Hey there, Tracy here with my oh so inspired video for June 2025, inspired by Amalia at Cool Cakes and Crafts. Let's jump into the video. And here's my inspiration piece from Amalia, and I will show you later in the video how it's alike and how it's not alike. But I absolutely adore this, and thank you, Amalia, for being a wildly talented inspiration. So I've cut everything out just in the interest of time, and I have it all in this little tray. And what I've used here today is I've used the die set from I Love You Latte, and I just used the words love and latte, so it says latte love. I didn't know what else to say there. And because I promised gnomes, I used this gnome from the Pesky Parameters Die Set, and I just used his head, and I cut his nose out a couple of extra times to make little hands. And then I've used this tiny teacup die set from Trinity, all from Trinity Stamps. So let's go ahead and put this card together. And while I'm putting this card together, let's just talk a little bit about the hop. Well, first of all, I did kind of a drawing and how I want to change up, because Amalia's had 2 cups and mine is going to have 3. And she had just a diagonal pattern, and I've got a little sort of, linear pattern as well. And I chose some pretty bright colors here because that's typically me. Anyway, just to talk about the video. So this is a video hop, and I hope that you'll hop along with all the designers who were inspired by Amalia at Cool Cakes and Crafts on Instagram. And I will have her link to this particular card and a link to her Instagram down below so that you can go check out some of her work yourself. And I was going to use my T-ruler, but I didn't quite get the measurements the way they fit with the T-ruler, so I'm just going to eyeball it and just glue this backer down because it can be glued down before I start gluing on pieces. And interesting fact is the little teacups, the set doesn't have a saucer, but it has some kind of inner parts for the coffee mugs, and mine are going to be empty, of course. And those inner parts I decided to try and do makeshift. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay down my cup, and then I'm going to lay down my second cup the way I kind of want it. And I'm just going to kind of set this down here, and I'm going to take my pencil and just draw around the bottom of the cup there. And then I'll just trim that piece out. So if you're not familiar with Oh So Inspired, each month, and this year we are doing each one of our designers as our inspiration. So this month it is Amalia of Cool Cakes and Crafts. And what we do is we go through their Instagram, we stalk their Instagram, and then we stalk a card that we might want to be inspired by. And we don't, you don't always have to do it exactly the same. Maybe you're just inspired by a color, maybe you're inspired by the shape or the content. In this case, I was inspired by the stacking cup. So see how that's going to sit. So I'm going to glue the top cup down, and then I'll glue the second piece to it, the little white part. And I use some, shiny, almost like patent leather, white shiny paper, so that it would look a little bit more like glass. So I'll lay this cup down and just kind of, and the second cup doesn't have to be perfect, but might want to have to hold it a little bit longer because the background paper I'm using is a little bit shiny too, so it doesn't grab as quickly. So I'll glue this piece down. And so there's a link listed in the description box below, also to the hop playlist, so that you don't miss any of the inspiration pieces that were created by our group. So as I promised at the beginning of my term here at Oh So Inspired, I want to attempt to get a gnome into every single card. So I kind of struggle with this, like how am I going to do it? I mean, I have several gnomes, but then I thought, what if he's just kind of peeking out of one of those cups? So I put him together. I cut his hat out of pattern paper, and everything else is just white, colored the nose with some tea dye. And I've got him glued down. Now I need his little hands. He needs to be hanging on to something. And the hands are just extra noses that I cut out with the white paper. So they look like little mitts, kind of hanging on to the edge of that cup, trying to get out, trying to get in, not sure. He's a caffeinated gnome. So that'll stick there. And I really didn't give a lot of forethought to this because I probably would have done something different with the bottom mug, but it works out okay. Okay, so there's our second mug. And then my third mug is going to be right about here. And I'm just going to try and slide it underneath there. See, I didn't think about it when I glued it down, that it needs to be underneath. So I'm just going to do what I can, kind of maybe lift that up a little bit, try and get it slid underneath there. You ever do that? Like, whoops, I don't know what I was thinking. Got myself in a hurry here. So once I have it in the place that I want it, and I don't want any of these to be straight, stacking things should never be straight. They should always be cattywampus, crazy, at least in my lifetime. So there's also a little decorative piece, and I'm going to put that on. I left it off the middle one because I had my little gnome, and I didn't want any strange bumps happening. So it reminds me of a cafe that my grandmother used to take me to in, I want to say the Bay Area, East Bay of or West Bay, East Bay of California. This place called Juanita's, and the owner was this old woman named Juanita, and her cafe was famous, but there was nothing matching in the whole cafe. She had animals running around in there, chickens, monkeys, and she swore at everyone. It was just a notorious little place. And so I love mixing up my coffee and bowls and mugs and things like that, just reminiscent of Juanita's. So I cut the Latte Love just out of white paper, and I'm going to go ahead and just dip it into the glue. And I'm not exactly sure how I want this yet. I kind of think I want the love down at the bottom, but it turns out I'm not able to do that because I hadn't put my saucers on yet. And in hindsight, I would have put my saucers on below my cup. So see how these normally fit there? I just made them into pretend saucers. So I'm just going to glue them all on top of each other. And Amalia had much nicer saucers because they probably came with the set. I'm just kind of laying out in my mind how this goes. So yeah, I kind of like to have mix and match kind of situations for my cups and bowls, reminding me of that whimsical time in my life. You know, as a little kid, although Juanita was scary because, yeah, she swore at people and she was just mean and yelled, and everybody loved her. Gosh, friends, that was back in the 60s. Probably if anybody's from that area and from my era, they might have been there. And I don't remember, I want to say it was in Solvang, somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in the East Bay. So I've got these three stuck together, kind of. And because it's that glossy paper, it takes a minute to grab hold. And see, that should have come up under the cup, but I'm leaving it alone because I can. It'll be fine. And then so now I have to decide where to put the love, and there's really, whoops, dang it, Bobby. There's really no place to put it, so I'm just going to put it back up at the top. And then finally, I'll just embellish this whole thing. I want to thank Amalia for the inspiration. It was very hard to choose from all of her things what to do. But as soon as I saw the stacking cups, I was in love. I was in a latte love. So get that love stuck down. And then I'm going to high speed add the embellishments here. And these are little hearts, heart pearls from Trinity, and I'll have everything I use listed down below in the description box. So I'm going to get quite a few of these on. I might go a little bit crazy with these little hearts. They're so cute. And they add that special shine. Let's get a couple on this mug. Maybe a teeny tiny one, a couple more over here, and then I'll probably call it a day. There we go. Yeah, a couple more. So there's my card, inspired by Amalia at Cool Cakes and Crafts. I thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you like my card, and I hope you like the video. If you do, please leave me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Tell me about your fun restaurant experience as a kid. And here's a still image just to top you off for the day. Have a fabulous day. Take care. Bye-bye.